Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be a drugstore makeup starter kit. I don't think I've ever filmed one of these. I've definitely done lots of other drugstore videos, so I'll go ahead and annotate that playlist right here if you guys would like to check it out for like drugstore favorites, must-haves. But I thought this would be really helpful for people who are just starting off with makeup, or if you're like going into the drugstore, you have no idea where to begin, or if you're just on a tighter budget and you're kind of trying to stay clear from the high-end things. I know sometimes while watching YouTube videos, it can definitely be intimidating because you have no idea like, okay, what's good? Just because something's high-end doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be better. There's lots of amazing products from the drugstore, so I went through my collection and kind of picked out products that I think would be great whether you have oily skin or dry skin. For me, I'm definitely more on like the normal to dry side, but I kind of went through and picked products that I've heard a lot of my like oily / greasy friends recommend. That way it kind of caters to everyone. So yeah, I really hope you guys find this video helpful. If you haven't already, please take the time to subscribe. I would really appreciate it. And let's go start building your kit. So starting off with primers, I have 3 here just because it's really hard for me to pick. Now, if you're someone who has lots of enlarged pores, or if you're just looking for a primer that does a good job of mattifying, this one is from MILANI. This one is in the black tube. It's Prime Shield, but there's also a Prime Shield that comes in a white tube. I believe that one is pore minimizing and hydrating. It has a really nice minty scent, but this is oil-free and it's made to mattify and pore minimize. So this, I believe, is more affordable than the NYX pore filler, at least this size. This one does have more of a slick, like greasy feel to it, even though it's mattifying, but then once it sets, it does dry down to like a matte finish. It does a great job of really blurring out any enlarged pores you have in this area or like on your forehead. The pore filler from NYX isn't quite as greasy, but I don't find this one to be quite as mattifying as the MILANI one. This one kind of gets a slight powdery feel once it sets, but I notice if I ever get carried away with this while I'm applying my foundation on top, the primer underneath will kind of pill up. So you just really want to go in and start off slow, kind of let it set, and then if you need more, then go in and apply another like thin, even layer. Really all personal preference. I really don't think you can go wrong with either of these. Now, if you're more on the dry side, you don't have a ton of pores, and you're looking for something that's illuminating and kind of more hydrating on the skin, I love Maybelline's Master Prime by Face Studio Primer in Blur and Illuminate. There's either 3 or 4, I think there's 3. I think there's this kind of like pale pink one, a green one that's color correcting, and then a purple one that I believe is brightening. This has a slight like iridescent sheen to it, but I love it because it almost just feels like a lightweight moisturizer, but then it just gives this really nice, I don't even know how well you're going to be able to see that, like pearlescent sheen to the skin. So it just brightens up and illuminates the skin. This one doesn't do anything for pores though. So like I said, if you're someone who has really enlarged pores, you definitely want to go in with a pore minimizing primer. Okay, now for foundation, this is where I have quite a few products just because I wanted something for everyone. My personal favorite kind of formula is something really dewy and luminous, super liquidy. This is a foundation I've been using for years. Before this, one of my holy grail foundations was Bobbi Brown Skin Foundation. I feel like this is a pretty close drugstore dupe of that. This is the L'Oreal True Match Lumi Healthy Luminous Makeup. Currently, I'm using W5 Warm. Also, my neck, I'm sure you'll be able to see it here and there. My self-tanner is fading off so weird. I need to like scrub it off, so I have like these weird blotches on my neck. But this is such a gorgeous formula. Definitely something that you want to set because it will kind of get oily throughout the day, especially if you're oily. If you're someone who's really, really oily, I'd stay clear from this one. I would probably just go with the normal or like the original True Match formula. But if you're like me and you love something dewy and luminous, this is such a beautiful foundation. Plus, it has a pump. Now, if you're more on the normal oily combo side and you love full coverage, I think this is probably, let me see. Yeah, I'm thinking this is the most affordable foundation I have out of the 4 that I'm going to show you. This one is from Rimmel. It's the Lasting Finish 25 Hour with Comfort Serum foundation. Oh, Skin Perfecting Full Coverage Foundation. The only thing is the shade range of this is absolute garbage. I don't know if they've extended it since. Why do I always wear like off the shoulder tops while filming? They end up like migrating and up like on my second chin. This foundation is definitely full coverage. It does feel like foundation on the skin. It's not like the True Match Lumi where it just feels really nice and fresh face. So if you have things that you need to cover and you need a foundation that lasts all day, this one is great. And I really don't have any issues with it oxidizing. If you have a long work day and you find yourself to be someone who is oily, I think this would be great. Another foundation that dries down to more of like a satin matte finish, but I still feel like it is really long wearing. From L'Oreal, this is the Infallible Pro Matte. I meant to feature the Pro Glow as well. The Pro Glow is amazing, but Even for liking more of a dewy foundation, I love the longevity of this one more. I just feel like it wears better on my skin, and it's not a foundation that feels like drying or tightening and matte, even though it's like pro matte. It feels more of like a satin natural matte finish. A little of this goes a long way. It's buildable and it feels really nice and lightweight on the skin. Such a great foundation. And then one other foundation, this is a newer one to my collection, but I absolutely love it. This one builds up to like, I would say a pretty close full coverage, maybe not quite as full coverage as the Rimmel, but still like a good medium slash full coverage. This is the Wet n Wild Photo Focus Foundation. I have mine in golden beige. The applicator is kind of interesting. It doesn't have a pump, but it kind of has like this weird spatula type of format. This actually may be cheaper than the Rimmel one, and I feel like you get a ton of foundation. It's still 1 fluid ounce, but for whatever reason the packaging looks huge on this. I feel like this kind of works for all skin types, whether you're dry or oily. It doesn't like break down, but at the same time it doesn't have that gross like drying mask-like finish. Okay, moving on to concealer, I'm actually missing one of my absolute favorites. I need to repurchase it, but one of my favorite, like more of I guess a brightener concealer, not actual like skin tone concealer unless you're like really peachy pinky pale, is the Maybelline Age Rewind in Brightener. That one is so good. But two other amazing concealers. This is the Maybelline Fit Me. This I actually dug out of my empties because it's super old now. It's pretty much like scraped completely off. I have mine in number 15 Fair. I would probably buy Light next time though. It does have a doe foot applicator. This is more of a medium coverage concealer. I don't think you're going to get full coverage out of this. If you have drier under eyes, this one is great because it doesn't emphasize any fine lines. It doesn't feel tight or drying on the skin. I don't really think this is the greatest for blemishes. I would go in with probably like a potted concealer or the next concealer I'm going to show you, because this formula is definitely more like lightweight and kind of has a slight hydrating feel. That's why I feel like it's perfect for the under eyes. This concealer I've had for about maybe 3 months now. I love this. If you're fans of the MAC Pro Longwear Concealer, this one is incredible. I think the size is pretty much identical, and I think this was either $9 or $10 at Ulta, so it's probably more in the $9 range at Target. It's the Physicians Formula Insta Ready Full Coverage Concealer. I have mine in the shade Light. It actually comes with like a mini sponge that looks kind of like a mini beauty blender, but it has like this weird like teeny tiny slant at the end. I couldn't get it to work for me, so I just tossed it, but it does come with a pump. This has like full on coverage. I feel like the formula is so similar to the MAC Pro Longwear Concealer, but this still works great on the under eyes. Even though it's full coverage, it doesn't feel like dry or heavy. Not quite as hydrating as the Maybelline Fit Me, but I think this is a concealer that would work great both for blemishes and your under eyes because the coverage is amazing. Now, moving on to setting powders. If you guys are familiar with my channel, this should come as no surprise. This is the Coty Airspun Loose Face Powder Original Formula. I have mine in Translucent Extra Coverage, also known as the Grandma Powder. It has a very strong like floral fragrance that reminds, I think, a lot of people of their grandma. The only downfall is that it's incredibly messy, so it comes off like this. It's not even an actual like twist, it just like lifts off. It comes with this really weird like cottony, like fuzzy looking puppy sponge. I have a different sponge in here which needs to be washed, but it does have a sifter. One jar will last you forever. I've had this for so long now. It's probably expired, but it doesn't smell weird and it still works, so I just go with it. This huge container I believe is like $6 at Walmart. It's super affordable. It's amazing. You can use it as an all over face powder. I don't really like it for that. I just really like it for setting my under eyes. This can get a bit drying though, so my favorite way to apply it is with a damp sponge, whether it's a beauty blender or the L'Oreal sponge. Anything like that will work. Another great translucent powder is from Maybelline. This is also from the Face Studio line. It's the Master Fix Setting and Perfecting Loose Powder. This actually reminds me of a better version of the Makeup Forever Ultra, or no, HD Translucent Setting Powder. I feel like this is more finely milled. It feels extra silky on the under eyes. I don't really notice too much of a flashback with it, but I'm not really over here using like a ton of flash photography. But I use it a lot while filming, and I don't feel like the lights really like pick up on the white powder. It melts perfectly into the skin. It just feels really nice and silky. It kind of reminds me of the Makeup Forever HD powder, like I said, an improved version. If that had a baby with the Tarte, the loose powder that's like the pore affecting powder that kind of blurs everything out, It's a lot like this. The only thing is you don't get that much. Like this, you get 0.21 ounces, and I want to say this is like $7 or $8, whereas that Coty Airspun is like $6. But this just looks better all over the face. Like this is a powder I would use all over my face. The Coty Airspun one, not so much. Okay, moving on to brow products. These two have become a staple in my collection, especially this one. But first we'll talk about the brows. Honestly, if I had the NYX Micro Brow Pencil, it would probably be that one over this one because I adore that pencil. But this is what I have on hand right now. This is the Brow Stylist Definer by L'Oreal. It's the ultra fine tipped shaping pencil. So just like the Anastasia Brow Wiz, you get a retractable pencil on one side and then a spoolie on the other. I have mine in the shade Brunette. It's not super stiff and it's not super waxy either. It's just like the perfect happy medium. This is actually what I have on my brows right now. So I will line and fill my brows with that, and then as like my brow gel and volumizer, this is the Maybelline Brow Precise Fiber Volumizer Mascara. I have mine in soft brown. This was in my 2016 yearly favorites. It is amazing, especially if you like the look of like fuzzy brows in the front, like you just want to really show that you have actual hairs and not just like drawn on pencil brows. This is perfect because it not only like kind of puffs those hairs up, but it also sets your brows in place. I feel like this works better than the Anastasia Clear Brow Gel. It's amazing. The applicator is kind of like interesting. It takes some getting used to. It has like this weird kind of like spoon spade shape, and there's actual fibers in there that kind of like mimic the look of hairs. I really like the look of it. Like I said, it keeps your brows locked in place all day. The only thing I will say is that it takes a little bit longer to set than other brow gels. Definitely recommend applying this after you're finished with all of your powder products. Like if I were to apply this and then go in and bake, if any of that powder like wafted up, it basically gets stuck into this because it is kind of like a thicker, stickier formula, but once it sets, like it sets in place all day. I could take a shower and my brows would still be on because that stuff like is too legit to quit. Oh, you know what I realized I forgot? Is eyeshadow primer, which I think I may be out of anyways, but for that I love the NYX eyeshadow primer. But to be honest, lately I've just kind of been using whatever concealer I'm using on my eyes as my eyeshadow primer, more to just kind of like create a nice clean canvas and conceal any veins. But if you do have really oily lids, the NYX eyeshadow primer is super good. Okay, for eyeshadows I kind of had a little bit of trouble just because I feel like eyeshadows are the one thing, like eyeshadow palettes specifically, are kind of harder to come by in the drugstore, especially if you're used to like a certain formula and quality. I really like these palettes from Milani. These are the Everyday Eyes eyeshadow collection. I can't vouch for all of the shades, but this one in Earthy Elements is really nice because you have some gorgeous warm crease shades, like this orange and then this nice soft brown. This one is definitely more of like a pearly type of brow bone color. The mattes in this actually perform better than the shimmer shades, which I feel like is kind of unusual because normally like the matte shades don't perform quite as nice, but this one is really pretty. Another palette that I absolutely adore from the drugstore, it's from the drugstore portion of Ulta. Some people think that's cheating, but to me, like if I'm shopping on the drugstore side of Ulta, I still consider that drugstore. But this is from Makeup Revolution. I did an entire video comparing this with the Kat Von D Shade and Light palette. I know some people have a certain feeling towards this because clearly it's like a straight up rip-off idea of the Kat Von D Shade and Light palette, so much so that this one is called the Light and Shade palette. But like I said, I did an entire video. I'll go ahead and pop it up right here. It may not feel quite as silky, like the swatches don't look as nice, but on the eyes, they perform almost identically. For a while there, I was using this palette like solely for like 2 or 3 weeks. I really like it. I think it's like $14 or $15.99, but that's not bad for the amount of shadows you get. Plus, a lot of the time Ulta will have a deal where it's like buy one, get one 50% off from Makeup Revolution. These from L'Oreal, they have been around forever, but they're absolutely incredible, especially if you love like a really metallic, shimmery eyeshadow. These are just the Infallible, oh, what are they called? Oh, the whole name isn't on here. 24-hour infallible eyeshadows. Amber Rush is a total must-have if you love anything like coppery and gorgeous and metallic. Another favorite of mine is Eternal Sunshine. These are just pressed pigments. I'm not going to open that Amber Rush one because I know it's like shattered. You have this little thing that looks like a miniature like pot lid. So you pop that up. You can use a brush if you want, but I feel like a finger is the best. And you just kind of like pack this onto your lids. Like, look at that. Isn't that so pretty? So these are amazing as well. I want to say that's anywhere from $5 to $6 at Target. Moving on to eyeliners. Starting off with pencil eyeliners, I actually have two different brands. If I'm just wanting a really good black eyeliner, I love this one from NYX. It's the, is it Trace Jolie or Trey Jolie? I actually did a best of NYX video. I kind of want to do an updated one though, because NYX has released a ton of more products since then. This one is just the gel pencil liner in pitch black. It does come with a built-in sharpener and it's retractable, which is amazing. Thank you, NYX. But this works great on the lid, on the waterline. It stays all day. I tightline with this one pretty much every single day. The brown is really nice as well. And Koki, this is actually now sold in select Walmarts. I talked about these in several videos in the past. If you're looking for like a good pearly shade in the waterline, the color Champagne, it's the Velvet Smooth eyeliner. But look at this color. Isn't that so pretty? Like if you're looking for something to just kind of give you like nice, big, bright eyes, this one is so, so pretty. Another favorite of mine is, I think it's bronze. Yeah, 533 bronzed. You can even use that as an eyeshadow base if you wanted to go all over your lid. But they have really fun colors like pink, purple, like there's really pretty emerald greens. Those are amazing. Now for liquid liners, apparently the NYC liquid liner was discontinued. I loved that one. That one took a little bit of getting used to because it was a really like kind of flimsy brush tip applicator. But if you like a nice felt tip, I'm not going to say this is as good as Stila or the Kat Von D liquid liner because I love those. It doesn't dry down quite as matte as those, but it's still really nice and black. This is from the brand Jordana. It's the Fabuliner liquid eyeliner. I think this is like $1 or $2, no. I think it's $2. It's like $1.99 at Walgreens. The only thing is, the longer you have it, like the felt tip isn't quite as nice quality as like Kat Von D and Stila, so it starts to get like really thick and chubby. But when you first get it, it has a really nice fine tip. Okay, I decided before even sitting down to film this that I was going to completely skip over mascara because I feel like mascara is a very, very like personal product. It really kind of depends how your lashes are. Personally for me, I have like short, thin, like droopy lashes. I have to curl my lashes. I have to use a waterproof mascara. So some of my go-tos, it's the Maybelline Rocket Mascara, and then I've been loving the CoverGirl Supersizer in waterproof. Some of my all-time favorite blushes from the drugstore are the MILANI powder blushes that come in these really cute, oh, powder blush. Yeah, it's the rose blushes. If you're someone who loves Tarte Exposed, you would love Awakening Rose. This one is really good. And then Romantic Rose. These are such gorgeous, like dusty rose, everyday blushes. They are amazing. Plus the packaging is really pretty. Out of the two, if I could only get one, I would definitely recommend Romantic Rose. Such a pretty color. Now, if you like a little bit more shimmer in your blush, the Milani Baked blushes are amazing. I think Milani makes some of the best like blushes and bronzers at the drugstore. This one is in the shade number 5 Luminoso. It's kind of like a blush, like a blushy highlighter built into one. It gives you those really like pretty, just glowy, happy little cheeks. So, so good. Now for bronzers, or I guess more of like a contour, I've had a hard time finding like the best contour powder from the drugstore, but out of my collection, my personal favorite is from the brand Catrice. This is another brand that you can find at Ulta. This is the Prime and Fine Professional Contouring Palette. I have mine in the shade number 10. As you can see, it's definitely like an ashy, more like neutral, cool tone blush. The highlighter is okay. It's not my favorite, but so far for me, this has been the best contour powder that I can find at the drugstore. If you guys have a better recommendation, definitely let me know. Now, when it just comes to bronzers, obviously it's all personal preference if you like more of a liquid bronzer or a powder bronzer. Like I said, Milani makes some amazing powder bronzers, but for liquids, I love these two. If I'm looking to go back in and add some warmth back into my complexion, the Wet n Wild Mega Cushion Contour, this is newer, but one of my holy grails is the Maybelline Dream Bronze BB, number 20 medium deep bronze. I've used this in so many different tutorials. I'll just squeeze them onto the back of my hand, kind of like smooth it out into a thinner layer, and then dip my beauty blender in it and kind of just go along the contours of my face. It is so, so pretty and just kind of gives you more of like a natural bronzy contoured look. Such a gorgeous product. When it comes to cream highlighters, these are the Maybelline Strobing liquids. So they have 100, 200, and 300. I apply this just like I kind of explained the Bronze BB. I'll squeeze them onto the back of my hand, shear it out, and then dip my beauty blender in it. If you're looking for one of the cheapest highlighters at the drugstore that's like absolutely beautiful, it's actually an eyeshadow by Maybelline. I believe these are $3.99. This is the Maybelline eyeshadow in the shade The Glow Down. This is absolutely stunning. I feel like I already have plenty of highlighter on already, so I'm just gonna swatch it for you. But if you just go in with like a nice fan brush or a highlighting brush, look at that. Especially if you love like golden champagne highlighters, $3.99. I mean, really, like Becca highlighters are what, like 30 something dollars? You can get you a $4 highlighter at the drugstore. For lip liners, no surprise here. These are just the NYX lip liners in the like pencil, wooden pencil ones. This is the Peekaboo Neutral. I love this one. I love Ever. There's so many different shades, whether you're like a cool toned baby Barbie pink person, more of like a dusty mauve neutral like this, or if you love reds, like the color line is super extensive, and I think this is another product that's like under $5. I think like $3.99. It's amazing. The only thing is you have to sharpen it. Lazy girl problems, I know, but you cannot go wrong with these lip liners, especially if you're just looking for a lip liner that you can have like a ton of. If you go to Ulta, lots of the time they will have buy one, get one 50% off, or buy two, get one free. That's the time to stock up on these bad boys. Now, for actual lipsticks, that was definitely much harder because not only are there a ton of brands to choose from, but there's also a ton of formulas. So I picked a gloss, a liquid lipstick, and a regular lipstick just to cover all the basics. For normal lipstick formulas, I love the Maybelline Color Sensational line, specifically the new Into Matte line. Oh, all the colors are amazing. One of my favorites is Toasted Truffle and Brown Blush. It's a matte formula, but it doesn't feel dry. Why did I swatch here? That was so dumb. So this one is in the shade Toasted Truffle. Maybelline is amazing because not only is the color line huge, but they don't have a weird smell, which I really, really appreciate, because a lot of lipsticks at the drugstore either have like a sickeningly sweet smell or like a weird floral smell. L'Oreal, that I like cannot get over. Okay, now for liquid lipsticks. This one is actually by L'Oreal, so no shade. This is the Infallible Pro Matte Gloss. I have mine in the shade Statement Nude. It's actually what I'm wearing right now. Love this color, love the formula. If you love liquid lipsticks and you like a matte finish, but you can't deal with like the matte feeling of a liquid lipstick that can be like drying and tightening, this one is great. The only thing is, since it doesn't ever fully dry down, it's not transfer proof, but it still wears like a really long time. So I love these. They have a gorgeous red as well. That's called like, I think Shanghai Red, Shanghai Dragon, something like that. It's real nice. Okay, for glosses, I think this is so underrated, and maybe it's just because it's been around for a long time that people are kind of just like, meh. Like, I feel like Revlon doesn't really get some of the credit that they deserve. This is the Revlon Colorburst lip gloss in the shade Sunbaked. So the packaging is actually kind of like a drugstore version of like the Chanel Glossomers, right? Like the little tall, huey type of shade. So here is the color. Surprise, surprise. It's like another, let's just swatch you right here. Another like kind of nudie mauve color. But look at the pigmentation of that. That's like a really high pigmented gloss. It's super nice. It doesn't have a weird smell. It's not sticky. I love these glosses. So the next time you're looking for a drugstore gloss, definitely check out the Revlon Colorburst because I feel like they're definitely underrated. Okay, so those are my recommendations for a drugstore makeup starter kit. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video and found it helpful. If you did, give me a big ol' thumbs up. I would really appreciate it. Also, be sure to leave a comment down below letting me know what some of your like go-to drugstore makeup products are. And yeah, as always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!